Welcome back, friends. Happy New Year. Now, let's talk about treasure.
Treasure? Treasure?
That's right, treasure. Treasure comes in all shapes and forms. Now, actually, let's do this the right way. That's better. Now, treasure comes in all shapes and forms. Now, this could be a whole room full of gold, or even just a small chest full of jewels. Barrels filled with random gold trinkets, large military crates filled with assorted gold artifacts. We've all seen scenes of a hero discovering a large storeroom full of treasure. These scenes always impressed on me the diversity of the treasure. And usually, depending on the era of it supposedly being found, there's a lot of interesting items mixed in there. Which brings us to my treasure props. I've always loved treasure hunting movies, as I'm sure many of you do. I grew up with movies such as The Goonies and the Indiana Jones franchise, so I've always had this inner love for treasure scenes in movies. I'm always interested in the more unique aspects of certain treasure piles. Broken sword hilts, old religious items, anything interesting like that. I've slowly been putting all of my treasure props together, mainly to keep them organized. In doing so, I've made a pretty diverse collection, and I'd love to show off a few of these pieces. As a whole, this chest looks great, but as you start picking it apart, individual items just don't seem to fit. Starting with the crate. This is a vintage ammo crate that I found, and it's really useful because of the two heavy metal handles on each side. There's no lid for it, but I really don't need one for this type of prop. It's pretty ratty and water damaged, but that's exactly what I need for something like this. I added this vintage style lock that's keeping absolutely nothing locked. Next would be the heaviest items in the box, and that's my pewter ingots. Now I've got a few different sizes of these. This is the largest one I have. I use these ingots for casting objects out of pewter when I get a chance to. Pewter has a low enough melting point that I can use it in silicone molds and it actually doesn't even deform them. I like having a pile of it around. If I end up having to source it, sometimes that takes a little bit longer. These are very like a raw treasure item that I like to have. Next, I've got some pewter that I haven't quite melted down yet. I generally find these at the thrift store for a few bucks a piece, and then I melt them down into using for other projects. Next, I have this fake gold bar ingot. This is just a light plastic ingot, and it's actually a bank. And I believe you can still buy these on Amazon. I found it at a yard sale for 50 cents, and it's got a nice gold tinge to it, so it really works for this kind of thing as long as it's a background prop. You can usually spot a few religious items in any sort of treasure pile. These are the tops to last rites boxes, and they're missing the base, so I have no use for them other than this. Here I have a brass ankh, and this is a pretty cool piece. It's got all these different hieroglyphics, which are actually imprinted on both sides of it. It's a very interesting looking piece, and it adds some more multiculturalism to the entire box. Now here I have two gold-plated communion cups. At least that's what I think they are. I always thought they were shot glasses, but putting a little more thought into it, that's what I have established they probably are. They make a beautiful ringing noise. These are more kind of filler for the box. Here I've got a souvenir from a university in Switzerland. It's only one-sided and has a bit of felt on the back. I'm not sure what the design was patterned after, but it looks very old-world coin, and that's always very interesting in a treasure pile. Now here I've got this little resin skull, and I don't think it's gold-plated, but it's pretty shiny, and the outer shell of it seems pretty heavy compared to the inside. Now here we've got a real treasure. This is a pendant from Caesar's Palace from Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, I don't know how much you'd have to win to actually get one of these, or if you could just purchase it as a souvenir, but this is kind of an older piece and a nice vintage Vegas souvenir. Now, this is a small brass letter opener, and it's got these Chinese coins carved into the top of it. So, kind of treasury, you know, monetary related at least. This is a New York security guard badge, and I think at one point it was gold plated, so it does have a nice tinge to it, but it's definitely worn down more than it should be. It definitely doesn't fit too well with this kind of treasure, but if it was a background item, it wouldn't really jump out at you. This is a little chainmail bracelet. It's a nice piece of costume jewelry. I've worn it a few times for Ren Fair. It's got these nice leaves imprinted in it, although I kind of prefer the other side of it, personally. This side has a more hammered gold kind of look. Here we have a scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz. I'm not sure what this is from, and it's broken off its base, but kind of an interesting old item. Now this is from a set of a hand mirror and brush. This was the brush, but the piece with all the bristles I took out of there. I plan on doing something with this to the effect of either adding a green screen inside it or printing a little picture. And every treasure box needs some pearls. Now, this next piece has its own intro.
Parents love the fact that the Burger King Big Kids meal has more of a great tasting food their kids love. And kids love the fact that they can get a limited edition gold-plated Pokemon trading card to trade with their friends. Which makes every parent happy. Well, most parents. Now when you buy a tasty value meal, you can get a 23-karat gold-plated Pokemon trading card from Pokemon the First Movie for just $1.99. Pokemon and Burger King. Come and catch 'em all.
Yes, this is a gold-plated Mewtwo card. Definitely a very cool collectible item. The gold plating is very, very worn on this, as if someone was handling it quite a bit. Here's kind of a personal trophy. This is a lump of brass from the only time I've ever gotten my forge hot enough to melt any precious metals. The other side of it has these craters in it. It's very moon-like. Just a little casting souvenir. This is the replica of the Spanish doubloon, and I believe it's cast out of tin. It's pretty poorly cast, but it's a nice little coin item, I guess. I added this jointed chain for it so I could wear it around. Now, any Star Wars fan will recognize that this is Han Solo cast in carbonite. This second one has many voids captured in it, as you can see. Now this one's a really interesting item. On the one side it has this full calendar, it looks like. And on the other side is a depiction of Kuan Yin. This is made from Tibetan silver. The imprinting of the deity is very nice on it, and I love seeing the depictions of all the arms. This is just a small silver-plated button. This would work well for any sort of Skyrim costume or any piece like that that I'd be using for either a Ren Fair costume or something for a larger convention. Now this one's a small hockey medal that I stole the ribbon from for a different project. Definitely doesn't fit here, but I threw it in there anyways. Now I think this thing is really cool. This is two coins riveted together with space between and made into either a small little pillbox or lighter case or something similar. The trapdoor has a small spring on it to keep it closed. And the knurled edging is very nice on this. Here I've got a little brass letter opener that I actually made from a couple of different items, and one was a broken letter opener and the other was I think a leg of something or other, but it was silver plated and it makes a perfect handle for this item. Its needle point is very cute and dainty. This is a nice little costume ring that just screams royalty. The stone is fake in it, but the entire ring kind of reminds me of something you'd find in Skyrim. Now this is a large Herkimer diamond that I set into an antler ring setting that I had found. Very large and gaudy. Again, something good to wear for the Renaissance Festival. This is a long, solid golden chain. And it works really well as a belt, but you could also use it as like a lead. Here's another chain belt, and this one has some coins attached to it. Nice for layering with any sort of costume. Here's another piece of costume jewelry, and this one reminds me of any of the Evil Eye Ward pendants that people wear around. Perhaps a more stylized version. This necklace works great for any sort of fantasy setting. And every treasure pile needs a crown. This is a vintage tiara from Disneyland. The old school style of it is very nice. I really like how these little pearls are embedded in it. Despite its whimsical background, I always feel like this is more of a gothic item. It's a nice deep red. Would go very well with any sort of a Dracula's Bride character. Now, I really like this bangle. This bangle reminds me of the cursed bracelet in one of the Tintin adventures.
Meet Raskar Kapak, he who unleashes the fire of heaven.
Discovered on a mummy and then taken by one of the characters. This is a very iconic item.
That's Raskar Kapak's bracelet. How on earth did it come to be here? It really is magnificent. I'll just slip it on and surprise everybody.
I really like these pseudo turquoise stones and the tiny inlay you can see when you really look closely. Now, wrapping up, here's a couple more bangles. These are just some basic gold bands. Mostly just filler treasure. Now, this is a formed metal pouch, and very interesting little item. It has a little press fit latch which keeps it secured. The style of it gives me a very Lovecraftian feel. The design is very fluid and serpentine. This is just a small gold-colored candlestick. More filler. These last few relics are the ones that are too large to fit in a crate. This is a simple jug, and I really like the design on this. It's got this false verdigris pattern on it. This thing really gives me ancient Egypt vibes. This is a small pharaoh bust, and I'm not sure which pharaoh this is supposed to be. I'm not sure if these symbols are just filigree or if they actually mean something. But it's a pretty interesting shape, and the color is really nice. Accents the treasure quite well, depending on the lighting. Here's just a simple brass vase, and this thing is crazy dense, so it adds a little bit more weight for any of the filler here. It could also be used as like a nice gin bottle or something if I could find a large stopper or something to seal. And then we've got this monster. This is a large carved sarcophagus statue. This thing is tall. I especially like the gold paint on this. Its reflective nature works really well. The very tip of the crown is broken, but it adds a little bit of character. Now, I hope you enjoyed my collection. Thank you so much for getting me to 300 subscribers, guys. You are the real treasure here. Do not forget that. Thanks for joining me.